Hey guys, it's me, Gimpy, and welcome back to another game in my series on games that are good for you and her. This game is called Pay Dirt, and it is by Crash Games. And if you have ever watched the show Gold Rush that's on the History Channel, this is that show in board game form, right? The whole purpose of the game is to mine for gold. And I mean, look at these old nuggets this game comes with. I mean, the component quality in this game is absolutely outstanding. It easily rivals games of like Fantasy Flight series. The component quality for those games, this is easily in that level. All the pieces are very nicely made. You can hear the cardboard stock for it for your player boards and all the tiles. All excellent, thick, good quality. But the purpose of the game is to take and do your auction phase, your worker phase, and come out with the most gold at the end of it. I mean, just like the show. You know, you want to have the most gold out of all the players when the game's over. And it's very easy, but kind of hard to master, and it works well with two players. Now, there are a couple of small little minute changes when it comes to two players, but my wife and I still bring this to the table occasionally. It works very well as a two-player game, so don't let that throw you. But it does play up until 5. I'm going to walk you through the rules real quick and show you how the game is played. Each player is going to start with one of these little player boards, and you're going to have all your starting equipment, your excavator, your loader, and your wash plant, just like you have in the show. You start at one and you work your way to the other, and then you have some spots for your other camp places, which I'll touch on here in a sec. And then especially, I love this, each board comes with a list down of how the sequence of play is done. And then your little gold goes here. All right, you're gonna set the board up like this. You're gonna have your little meeples, and little colors for everybody. Your little workers, you start off with 5. There in your unused labor force. This is the city area where you're going to get supplies, and you're going to be able to bid on new equipment, new personnel, and new claims to mine. Okay? Your equipment can replace the equipment that you're currently using. For example, this excavator, if you notice the difference between it and this one, it has 3 spots, which means your gold's going to take 3 times as long to go across it as if you replace it with that excavator that only takes 1. So easily worth it. Each one of them has a minimum bid there in the top right, showing you how much the minimum bid is to actually buy it. And what you're going to do in this phase is the first player, the head miner with their cool little miner hat that they have here, is going to make their bid. They're going to pick what item they want to bid on, whether it's a person that has, you know, some little special skill, a new plot of land, or a piece of equipment to improve their area. And in player order, the next player can either pass or they can raise the bid and try to outbuy it from someone. You can only bid up to the amount of money that you actually have on hand, so you can't, you know, just bluff people or anything like that. If you only have 9 or 10,000, then, you know, that's what you can bid. When a piece is won by a player, they immediately take it, they'll set it on their board, and then this no bid chit, or little, not chit, this is actually a big wooden piece, will be set on that category of equipment, and the next person who's bidding, each person who's playing will get a chance to bid. So if you're doing 2 players, just 2 rows, the next person won't be able to bid on equipment. So if you don't get equipment on this one, you're going to have to wait till the next round to get it, and you're going to have to get personnel or another plot of land instead. Now, after you take and do your auction phase, just the FYI, when you're doing the auction, if you are playing this as a 2-player like my wife and I do, the bottom 3 pieces across the board and the bottom one from the camp gear, which is there on the right, which I'll touch on here in just a sec, they all come off, and that's kind of to simulate another player buying out those items. and it helps force along the equipment, so you're not going to be just seeing only a few pieces of gear. The times we've played this, a good chunk of all the stacks get shuffled through as we're playing the game, so we get a chance to get all the cool pieces of equipment and plots of land and all that good stuff as we're playing. Now, after you do your auction phase is when the actual worker phase comes into it, and your worker phases are all here on your player boards. Okay, up here at the top of your player boards is where you're going to send workers to take and do those specific actions. And yeah, that's just there. You're going to take, and if you want to move dirt from your claim, you start with one that has just barren dirt on it. You'll take and put a little meeple there above it, and he's going to take one piece of dirt and send it there into that first little claim spot. If you want to keep moving it along, you keep moving, you keep adding workers to it, and they're going to keep moving it along. However, each time you add a new piece of dirt to a piece of equipment, it gets a wear cube on it. One of the little red cubes gets put onto these little mechanical icons here, and when they fill up, that means that the equipment is broken and is no longer able to be used. However, you can send meeples below the equipment, and they're considered to be working on repairing it, and they'll knock the red cubes off of it. So you have to balance yourself as you're going along and moving your dirt from spot to spot, that you're not overworking your gear and breaking it down, and what's the best way to take and put your workers, because not only can they go here, they can go to town. There's a couple of spots there, one in the clerk's office where you can sell the gold that you've purchased or you've dug up, and the camp supplier where you can get limited use items that will help you out. This one, the ATV, for example, one worker sent to the sales office or gear supplier may be used again in your mining camp. Basically, he's getting to do 2 actions this turn, and the little icons in the bottom right, the little wear icons, that's how many times you can use it. Each time you use it, you'll put a wear cube on it, and when you've used it up, it's done. And the good part about this, and the reason it plays so quickly, is because you can take and do your worker placement phase simultaneously with everyone else. Because with the exception of the gear supplier, no one has any of the same spots to go to. You're all working your own little plot of land and not worrying about what your opponent's doing. I mean, you got to trust your opponent, but I'm assuming you trust your wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever you're playing with. So you can take and place out all your workers without having to worry about anyone else. It makes it go very quickly. You go ahead and send through whatever little dirt you get, and once it reaches the farthest right spot, depending on what gear you have equipped, it automatically flips, and then you see how much gold is going to be found in it. And it's going to be somewhere between, I think, like 2 or 6, depending on what type you're getting. And then you get your little nuggets automatically, and they go into your reserve. Now, as you're doing this, let me grab up one so you can see the difference here. There are little plots like this one. You can see that it has all 3 types of dirt that can be dug up: promising, barren, and rich. Obviously, the rich is the one that you want the most, but they can all vary. You can find a lot in barren, and you can find a little in rich. You can see here, the rich only had 4 in it, and the barren had 4 in it as well. So it's all randomized. You don't know what you're buying. You know that it should be good, but it might not necessarily be. And you know that barren should be bad, but hey, you might find that little sweet vein of nice gold in there and luck out as far as that's concerned. After that's done, you go into what's called the hardship phase, where each person's going to draw a couple of these hardship cards, or the head miner rather is going to draw a couple of hardship cards. They're going to pick one to keep for themselves, give to the other, and the person who has the mining hat is going to apply the negative temperature to the temperature track, and once the temperature track reaches 0, that's when the game ends. And that's to simulate Alaska freezing over, just like you would have in the show itself. Their season ends when it gets too cold. But the hardships will do certain things to you until the next hardship phase. You must assign a worker to each active claim you remove pay dirt tiles from. See this one, until the next hardship phase, all claim tiles you purchase at the auction come up without one pay dirt tile of your choice. So if you were to buy that top right one there, instead of getting rich, barren, and promising, you would have to remove one of those if you were to buy it. Of course, you would remove the barren one and hope that the others paid out, or just not buy dirt that round and buy workers or equipment instead. Also, when you do buy workers, that little icon indicates how many meeples they take and add to your worker force. That's actually how you increase your worker force. And I think you can get up to 10 meeples, because some of these guys actually have 2. They'll actually count as 2. Let's see if I can find one here for you real quick. That guy doesn't count as any. They just have specials. All right, look at that. These guys actually give you 3. And at the end of each income phase, you have to pay 1,000 or lose Dirty Mike and the boys. So they give you a lot of workers, but you're having to actually pay a little more to keep these guys. So it's a trade-off, just like everything else, in these Euro-style games. After you get done with your hardship phase, there's an income phase where each person is given 2,000 to try to help you out and make sure you're making a little bit of money to keep you going. But the real strategy of this game comes from the fact of, where do you send your workers? And then once you actually have your gold, how much of it do you keep? And how much of it do you sell to take and buy extra plots of land and more workers and more equipment? And at the end of the game, it's decided who won by who has the most gold. So if you take and spend too much of your gold getting money to buy the best equipment, you could end up losing with someone who had, mediocre equipment, but was able to hold on to more of their gold as they were playing through the game. That's it. That's the game in a nutshell. It is not hard to learn the game. My wife, she hates learning games. She hates the first playthrough of it when I have to explain it to her. And this one, she understood the premise of it just pretty much from watching the television show. I'm serious. It's one of her favorite shows. It's part of the reason I got her the game. It's not hard to pick up. Young kids can enjoy it, but especially it's good for couples. If you have someone close to you who's into, those pay dirt or what's it called, gold rush shows, absolutely get this, because they will love it. It's a fun game for even more players, up to 5 players. Everyone can enjoy it. I love it. Wife loves it. I highly recommend it. And like I said, the component quality for a game this price, I think we paid $40 for it, is off the charts. It is outstanding. I know I looked it up on Amazon recently, and you can get it still for about $47. So I highly recommend it. This one gets 4.5 Gimpy stars up. Anyway, that's it for today. You guys take care. I'll see you in the next video.